Hi everyone, welcome back to Faewood Mead, or welcome to Faewood Mead if you are new here. I know I've been off YouTube again for a while. It happens. What can I say? I have so many projects, as you can see. But an update is not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about Mead Stampede this year. I went back for my fourth year. I think this is my fourth year judging at Mead Stampede. It's always a great time and it's always a fabulous learning experience. So I want to talk about kind of things learned and trends. I definitely had one specific request from our guest judges, and that was to mention that a lot of folks are trying to do too much with their meads, too many ingredients, which can be hard to balance, especially when you're new. I think every year balance does seem to be the biggest issue. Balancing ingredients, balancing acid, tannin, sweetness levels, and all of those things can be tricky and really just take time. Of course, you can go all out and do, what's it called? All the pros do it. People who are like super mead heads. What in the heck is it called? Bench trials? You know, you have your little tests, you've got like several little glasses, the exact same amounts. It takes like little, boop, boop, boop. What are those little droppers? Pipettes. It takes like pipettes, things like that, exact measurements. And you use different levels of acid and tannin. You test it out. Bench trials. I remembered that's what it's called. I haven't even done those. I did buy pipettes. I have the things to do it. I just haven't done it. Anyways, I digress. If you want to go really hardcore, you do bench trials. But really, balancing just takes practice. And Mead Stampede is a very beginner-friendly competition. Of course, we encourage that. You know, we want beginners to feel safe wetting their little competitive feeties with ours, with Mead Stampedes. And so I hope that our feedback has been super helpful. I feel like I keep trailing off on different avenues here. This is what I get for just sitting down and filming a video and not planning at all whatsoever. Balance, let's talk balance, because that's really, that was the big takeaway. And I'll talk about just ingredient safety. I had a night this year and it was terrible. So when it comes to ingredient balance, many times what seems to happen is, folks will have like three ingredients, three things that we should be tasting. They list them. It's like, we'll just say cherry, lime, and hibiscus, something like that. They'll list all of these things and then you're tasting them and all you can get is lime and hibiscus. And it's like, well, where did it go? So sorry, we gotta dock you some points because we can't pull this flavor that we're supposed to be experiencing. And that happened a lot this year. Some of the flavors were just too overpowering. Some there just wasn't enough of, and there was no mouthfeel or any kind of effect felt from that ingredient. So the number one recommendation was to just simplify things a little bit. And you also want to choose ingredients that are really going to complement each other. I feel like I give this feedback a lot where I'm like, this mead needs a grounding element. I remember there was one, and I can't recall the ingredients, but it was like all citrus. And that mead was super acidic. Yeah, like cherry, lime, hibiscus. So we could just use that example again. Because hibiscus gives an acidic taste. It gives that mouthfeel, it gives that effect. The flavor profile is like way up here. What folks need to think about is bringing it down in the middle. So you need something grounding, like a warming spice. So like a nutmeg or a cinnamon, something of that sort. You can also use my favorite, vanilla bean. Love vanilla. Vanilla girly. If you've been watching this channel long enough, you'll know that. You could also use like oak or even lactose. Lactose is great because it adds a creamy element, which brings down that brightness and acidic profile. Of course, tannin. There is the little triangle of tannin, sweet, acid. The issue sometimes that happens there as well, though, is that becomes too powerful, where you have so much brightness and acidity in your mead, and then you try to balance it out with sweetness and tannin, and then it's like you get this cloyingly sweet, it's just too heavy. That is my primary advice, and I think the advice from the other judges as well is just like, even if you simplify things down to two main elements, we'll say cherry and vanilla. You've got your bright acidic fruit note, and then you have your grounding, warming, smoothing element. You know, instead of being up here, down here, it's in the middle, which is where you want to be. So the other element would be just the amounts of, say, fruit. I tried a couple of triple berries, and there was one in particular I remember, it was very, very light in color. I don't know how much fruit they used, but it was not very much. It was like probably like maybe a pound per gallon, which you want more like 3 to 4, I would say. Of course, it depends on how rich you want your mead to be. Heavier fruit tends to be nicer because you do pull far more flavor. And of course, the quality of fruit, how much flavor is actually in the fruit. Like, you have to try it before you use it. I have certainly learned that. If you have 4 pounds of fruit that's like tastes watered down, not very rich in flavor, that's how your mead's gonna taste. And it's not gonna be great. But if you have 4 pounds of really rich, ripe, delicious fruit, I mean, that's gonna be a massive difference in quality of your mead and flavor profile. But this mead that I had tried, it was a triple berry, but it was so light. And you really, because of that lightness, it was really hard to pull the fruit apart or even like recognize it on your palate. Last thing I wanna get to is ingredient safety. So cattle battle this year. I might touch on this a little bit for my actual cattle battle video, which will be coming out just after this one. I'm trying, you guys. I'm trying. I have so much content. I just need to put it out. Cattle battle, oh my goodness. So I judged cattle battle the same day that we filmed the Jamboree. And of course for the Jamboree, I'm always a little bit toasty. Cattle battle was actually the last category that I judged. And my partner JJ and I, that one took a hot minute, and it was the last thing we judged, and it was like 2 hours before the Jamboree. I mean, it was not very long before the very end when we had to like open the doors, let people in, and get to our live stream. And I think because of that, I drank a little bit more than I would have. I am one of the very few judges who spits pretty consistently throughout judging. I probably sipped 2 to 3 times more than my judging partner. For the most part, those meads were very heavy on the cumin. So it was cumin and orange, if you're not aware. And I did not know this about cumin, unfortunately, until the next morning. I didn't really know what happened. I didn't know if I had like food poisoning. My body purged itself. And I was drunk, but I get drunk every year. I never get sick the way that I did that night. Let's just put it that way. I'm gonna save you from the details here. And the next day, JJ was like, I think it was the cumin because I didn't feel great either. But he felt it more immediately, I think because he wasn't as intoxicated as I was. I like instantly started drinking more. I was like, you know, I get anxious before the Jamboree, public speaking and just being on the spot. I'm an anxious person. It's easy sitting here and just talking to a camera, but like when I'm surrounded by other people, it's much harder to perform, let's say. So I learned that cumin, high amounts of cumin can be very irritating to the stomach. So it's just something to consider, the amounts of spices you use. And this is also a warning for those of you who did participate in cattle battle. If you are drinking that mead, be very careful because you might end up with an upset stomach. My cattle battle, on the other hand, was super, super light in spice. Very light. Anyhow, I hope that was helpful and not too chaotic of a video. I don't really plan it. You know, I feel like sometimes it's a little painfully obvious. I don't know if it's just like my anxiety or if I have a little bit of like ADHD brain or what. That could also be my issue with editing and actually like putting out video content. And I go and I sit down at the computer. Sometimes it's like, I just can't do it. I have laundry to do. I could be using my time to clean the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other tasks to do at home. I'm also not working full time anymore. I'm no longer at the meadery. I don't know, I might do a live stream and like talk about some things, but not at the meadery anymore. So if you come to Charlottesville and you come looking for me at old Thistle Rock, I'm no longer there. I haven't been for some time. It's a weird situation. I don't know how to explain it. So anyway, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. I will have more content coming out. I have so much to do. I have been ignoring everything and I have so many plans. So many things in the works. Appreciate you all. Okay, bye. Enough of this. Bye, bye, bye.